runway show featuring modern fashion and Roketsuzome, a millennia-old wax-resist dyeing technique from Japan. Blending tradition with contemporary design, the collection offers a fresh take on heritage craftsmanship. To better understand this collection, we're joined by Taiwanese designer Chen Yuan, usually known as Jean, the creative force behind it. So Jean, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So Jean, first of all, I feel like your design is really interesting. Like, I've seen so many designers and their collections. Can you tell me about your design this time?
So the collection is called Satanama. So Satanama is a sacred primal sounds of means representing the birth and life, transformation, and the rebirth. So what I did, I perceived the clothing as how we dialogue with the traditional crafts. So I try to use all this medium to express the idea of rebirth and life and transformation, the rebirth. The circle of impermanent.
So if I look at it right now, I feel like there are a lot of different patterns on it. And from my understanding, that you worked with traditional artists from Japan, right? Like, who are they?
Okay, so they are the craftsmanships, of course, and then I work with the second generation of this Roketsuzome workshop, and he is the artisans working over probably like 30 years or something, and he's been working with his dad, which is the founder of this old Shopping Kyoto, the workshop. That's the only shop in Kyoto that still carry on these techniques. So I work with them and then try to use all these techniques into our collections.
But if you were to explain, because for a lot of people, they don't quite understand what Roketsuzome is, can you tell me, what is that?
It can be called like wax dyeing, but for the more professional term, it's called Roketsuzome because it's actually different with the basic wax dyeing. So conventional wax dyeing is a craft of control, applying pattern to a surface. But Roketsuzome is a philosophy of surrender. It is ink wash painting practice through time. So the essence lies in a crack in other techniques. So we intentionally allow the wax to fracture, letting the dye seep into the interstate of the fabric. So this mirrors the spirit of kintsugi. So finding the wholeness not in perfection, but in the beauty of the broken. So ultimately, it is a dialogue between human intents and the will of nature. So it is not just a way to dye fabric, it is a way to witness the rhythm of existence.
Blending fashion with Roketsuzome is a real test of skill. Each detail must be carefully planned and meticulously executed. As wax cracks across the fabric, it forms unique patterns, meaning no two designs are ever the same. We also talked to Osuke Kambayashi from Kyoto, who also took part in the collection for his perspective on the craft.
We applied the wax to whole fabric, and then after we cooled down the wax with well water, that gives you like very hard texture, right? And then when we are dyeing, like dipping inside of the dyeing liquid, that will naturally crack, like break it. So, and then the place where the wax was cracked, the dye get through. Challenges with this technique is that we have to control the temperature of the wax, depending on how thick is the fabric or what kind of waves is it, or like material itself, like linen, cotton, like silks. In this collection, we used several types of fabric. For each fabric, we had to adjust the temperature.
This collaboration was a meaningful experience for both the Taiwanese designer and the Japanese artists, who were united by a shared goal of preserving traditional craftsmanship and bringing it into everyday life.
especially nowadays the technology and the AI are like increasing a lot in our society, and then we create the patterns or we make the photos like immediately. But the thing is that we kind of forget how we could really create by our own hands. To preserve all this traditional craftsmanship needs a lot of passion.
So why pick to collaborate with these artists from Kyoto then?
So for me, this collaboration is not a commercial partnership. It is a shared pursuit of eternity between two souls across different temporal dimensions. And I feel like Kyoto possesses a timeless stillness. So underpinned by a millennia of craftsmanship, I have always, been drawn to the texture of time. So this collection was not a simple outsourcing of a technique, but a cross of the temporal dialogue. I feel that it's interesting, both of us, that we think we take this, we call this like imperfection, right? We like this, the beauty of imperfection, like how the God give us, how we work, kind of like combination with our beauty of sense and also the natural of matters.
So adapting this traditional art form into fashion, what are the challenges? Like maybe I can say, like, understanding of fashion changes all the time, and tradition is just there and not everyone would like it, right? So how do you put that into something more trendy, more suitable for people today?
I think the challenge part is because the craftsmanship, like most of the time they carry the history, right? So we have kind of like mission and the responsibility to tell this history, but using our language, like all these clothing silhouettes, how it can represent the idea, behind these techniques, how we can, tell people about Roketsuzome through these collections, not only, just transfer the pattern only, but also the spirit of all these techniques. How I could, showcasing or representing the concept of this artisan spirit. I feel that's the, more challenging part, that, to understand, to put my shoes into theirs, right? To understand how they wanted to do this, how they want to preserve these traditions, and how I could translate the idea using my language. So I need to dig the idea first, and I need to know how they process this Roketsuzome, so I need to know about that first, and I think that's the difficult part of understanding in between.
So like, I understand, like previously I also spoke to some other artists, and I know that, as you mentioned, there are a lot of uncertainties, and it's not just about the patterns, it's also about the fabric, the material, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Like, were there changes in the materials? Are there some materials that are easier to work with, or?
Yeah, of course, the fabrics, matters, because the thinner or thick, or like whole cotton, or like silk, it's makes the difference with the outcome, and that also make the the interesting part of our work, right? So so we need to do a lot of experiments on all these fabrics.
So I can tell, like, when it comes to traditional art, it's basically always unique and different, right? Compared with today, like I would say talk about fast fashion, right? It's like huge productions and everything. So I understand why you would see this as something so unique and special. But for like these designs, working with traditional artists, like your brand has been doing it for quite some time, right?
The reason I feel that is, I don't see the clothing as the product itself. So I really like the process of working with the artisans. Especially, I see all this traditional craftsmanship as treasure, because how the beauty and the detail they show. I like how they put their time and efforts on all these things. Because when doing the clothing, like either draping, sewing, or patterning, it's all the long process, right? So the long process, and I feel like we need to match together and show people how this industry, the real side of this industry, like in my understanding of that, because I feel like all this traditional craftsmanship shouldn't only be the museum, glass case, but it should be bring into our current lives.
So, my understanding that along with the artists, you worked for months together. So now this experience must be very unique for you, right?
Right.
So for you, what message would you like to tell others from your collection, from the show, from working together with these Japanese artisans?
It's difficult in this society right now because one main end is the fast fashion and technology and that sort of things. But I don't see traditional is the past, but I see the seeds of the future, because this is the when all this technology and AI bounce up, right, and then all these people using their cell phone, they can create the pattern, or they can create they can generate the people like in a second. But while they're doing this, and it's also very important that we still preserve these traditional things that from our human hands and from our efforts on this. And I think more like when we increasing the technology, while increasing the technology, this is also the importance will become increased too, because we will miss the essence of our human being, and that's the real human connections.
So I have to say, seeing the designs, it's not just seeing them here, seeing the runway show and also the exhibition that you have now in Taipei, it really impressed me. So Jean, I want to say thank you so much for joining us on the show today. It was amazing to hear so much insights.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
This has been Zoom In, Zoom Out. If you liked our conversation, please click like, subscribe, and leave a comment below for us. Thank you, and see you next time.